When I was in high school, I got an academic award. We're at the ceremony, and I'm walking up to get my award, and my mom is sitting there. And she says, represent. And I, as a kid, had no idea what she meant by that. And when I got to the stage, and I'm looking around, I was the only Black person up there. Oh, what she's saying is represent for the community, represent for Black people, because you're the only one up there that looks like you. My name is Dr. Sierra Civils. I'm a nuclear engineer. Never in a million years, if you would have asked me back in high school if I would have been a nuclear engineer, I would have said, hell no. Take that out. I'm originally from Chesapeake, Virginia. The school I went to was Hickory High School. It was kind of more predominantly white. My parents, started to sit me down and say, okay, look, you're not like the other people in your class. You look different. People may make assumptions about you based on the way that you look. And as a kid, I didn't understand, what they were trying to tell me. I kind of saw them as being dramatic. But over time, I started to realize, okay, they're preparing me for the world. As a minority, you're gonna have to work harder. That's the first thing I ever made when I went to MIT, and those people ate that lasagna up. And I didn't even like it because it didn't have the sage. Cooking is something that's really big in my family, and it's something that I felt like I was good at. It came natural to me. And at the time, being a chef was the only thing that I really considered for a career, and something that I was really passionate about and never had any thoughts about doing anything else. Something that my parents pushed was having really good grades and making sure you did well in school. I was good in math and science, but I never saw it as an opportunity to have a career. And it wasn't until I took chemistry that my love for science really started to blossom. I was really interested in the atom, the periodic table, how these elements come together and create new things. In that chemistry class that really sparked my interest, my teacher, Mr. Harrell, he was the one to make that connection between chemistry and cooking and engineering for me.
And you said, yeah, I'll probably just go to, local college here or culinary school. I said, Sierra, you're one of my best chemistry students.
And he said, well, you should look into being a chemical engineer. Have you heard of that? Do you know what they do? And I was like, no. And he was like, go look it up and come back and tell me what you find. He was someone that challenged me. He was the first person to say, why don't you take an AP class? He didn't have to do that. But he saw something to where he was like, I feel like I can impact her career, and that's what he did. And so I would bring him different schools, and he'll be like, that's a good school, but I think you can apply somewhere better. And when I looked at MIT, I was like, oh man, it's like 6 or 8% acceptance rate. Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna get in there. So when I brought that to Mr. Harrell, he was like, yeah, this is the kind of school that you should be applying to. I said, Harrell, you're the best. I will be sure to harass you next year and more years to come.
And you kept your word. You can harass me anytime you want. Anytime you want.
Oh, this is so great. It was a classmate that said, hey, didn't you apply to MIT? Like, did you check and see if you got in? And I was like, no, I'm gonna go to VCU. And he was like, oh, well, you should just check. And so I went and I checked and I got in. And they were like, you got into MIT because of the demographics. And that stuck with me because I was like, well, what is it that they're saying about me? What are they saying about the institution? And that kind of pushed me to go because it was like, okay, well, you guys are mad that I got into MIT, so now I really gotta go. MIT was the first time I really got challenged because that's the first time I failed a class. That's the first time I was making like C's and D's.
So I just remember you always calling and being so upset and crying on the phone because you got a B at MIT. And I'd be like, you need to hang up and call Mom because I can't understand what you're saying. So you didn't know that that was normal for you to not get straight A's, especially somewhere like that.
That's what I was used to doing, so.
Yeah, and it's not normal.
So after MIT, I went on to the University of Michigan and got my PhD in 2019. So I was the first Black woman to get a PhD in nuclear engineering. I struggled with the idea of being the first because it was like, yes, I'm the first, I'm gonna open this door up for other people coming behind me, but I also was like, why did it take so long? How are they still the first Black woman to do X? I think part of it, yes, is systemic racism. We weren't even allowed to go to an institution like MIT. When I was presented with the opportunity to go to a place like MIT, to go to a place like Michigan, I saw that as an opportunity to open the door for people that look like me to come in and be involved in these fields. And now I've arrived at Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab, where I'm a nuclear engineer. I focus more on radiation simulations, specifically looking at how radiation affects materials. So when we irradiate something, how does that change the atom? How does it change its composition? How does it change its structure? When you look at rural communities or small towns or minority communities, there's an issue of access, there's an issue of exposure. Things like social media are ways that we can start to break down some of these barriers. So at MIT, one of the things that came to the forefront for me was that I was passionate about teaching and this idea of mentorship, this idea of inspiring the next generation, showing them that people that look like them are out there in these fields. And we are trying to create a narrative in a community to show the next generation of STEM leaders that, hey, this is possible and it's fun. I tell kids that anything is possible. No goal or dream is too small.
Each year we ask a student admitted to MIT to share with us the name of a teacher who has been especially influential in his or her development. It is a remarkable achievement and a great honor to change a life, so we congratulate you on being named this year by Sierra B. Civils. You do the work from which all of society benefits. Congratulations again on your excellent work. We at MIT are deeply grateful.
Yeah, and they're not lying. You changed your life, And I think that's the nice thing about being a mentor, because you encounter kids very early on in their career journey, and especially young Black girls, and you open their eyes. Then they look at you and think, oh, if she can do that, I can do that. And my message to them is, yes, you can.